Mass Effect Trilogy. Alright, let's dive into the Mass Effect Trilogy, a series you've got to play before you die. Developed by BioWare, the sci-fi epic spans 3 games released between 2007 and 2012. You play as Commander Shepard, a customizable hero on a mission to save the galaxy from an ancient threat known as the Reapers. Imagine exploring the far reaches of space, visiting diverse planets, and meeting all kinds of alien species. The universe in Mass Effect is rich and detailed, with stunning visuals that make each location feel unique and alive. The story is where this trilogy really shines. It's an epic tale filled with tough choices that shape the entire galaxy. You'll make allies, face betrayals, and fight in epic battles. Your decisions carry over from one game to the next, creating a deeply personal and evolving narrative. The characters are unforgettable, from the loyal Garrus to the enigmatic Lyra, each with their own stories and personalities. Gameplay combines action, RPG elements, and strategy. You'll engage in intense third-person shooter combat, use special abilities, and manage your squad in real time. There's also a ton of customization, from Shepard's skills to your spaceship, the Normandy. The mix of combat and exploration keeps the gameplay fresh and exciting. What makes the Mass Effect trilogy stand out is the emotional connection you build with the characters in the story. It's not just about saving the galaxy, it's about the friendships and sacrifices along the way. The dialogue and voice acting are superb, making every conversation meaningful. For me, playing the Mass Effect trilogy is like living through a grand space opera. The story is captivating, the gameplay is engaging, and the world is immersive. It's a journey that stays with you long after you finish the games. If you haven't played the Mass Effect trilogy yet, you're in for an epic adventure. It's a must-play for anyone who loves sci-fi, deep storytelling, and making impactful choices. Sekiro. I know that this game is not for everyone, but the ones who have finished the game know how great Sekiro really is. It's hands down the best From Software game in my opinion, along with Bloodborne. Sekiro is all about perfecting the combat and going toe-to-toe with some of the hardest video game bosses. Even if the game doesn't have a deep engaging storyline, the gameplay alone forces you to replay and get better. It's one of those games where even the smaller enemies will kill you in 3 hits. Not just the bosses, but you have to be cautious of the basic samurai enemies. Dodging and parrying are your 2 saviors. The entire game relies on how fast you can learn and adapt to new skills. Each boss has their own fighting style, which means that you must adapt a new strategy to take down every new boss.
Your master still lives. They'll soon make use of his bloodline. The men you have lost will give way to something more.
Though I'm really glad that they added the feature of backstab, because sometimes you can easily take 1 health bar by sneaking on the enemies. Not gonna lie, Sekiro is one of those modern games that I have completed more than 4 times. New Game Plus is amazing and a great option for those who want to challenge themselves. Also, once is not enough, I'm sure that you will definitely miss certain items, bosses, or even other hidden mechanics. Therefore, you must complete the game a few times before you can say, yes, I have completed the entire game. Sekiro is easily my favorite game because of how perfect the gameplay and combat are. The story is also nice, or maybe some people would like to call it the lore. I just loved the multiple endings. Dark Souls series. It's a trilogy that doesn't hold your hand, and that's exactly what makes it so unforgettable. Imagine stepping into a dark world where everything is out to get you. The traps, the bosses, basic enemies, fall damage, you name it. The difficulty is real, but that's where the magic lies. When you first start, you might feel overwhelmed by how punishing the game is. You die a lot, so much that you died becomes a phrase burned into your brain. But with every death, you learn something new. A boss's pattern, a hidden shortcut, or a better way to approach an enemy. The game forces you to get better, and that sense of improvement is deeply satisfying. When you finally take down a boss that seemed impossible, the rush is unparalleled. One of my favorite aspects are the areas. I love how connected everything is. It's like you're playing a linear game that is open world at the same time. The environments are interconnected in such a clever way that every time you unlock a shortcut, it feels like a small victory. Each Dark Souls game has its own uniqueness. The first part is the OG and a lot of us love it for that reason. The second part is the most difficult one. And the third part is mostly known for crazy boss battles. Also, by the time you get to the third part, you pretty much know how Dark Souls works. Therefore, you will have a much easier time than what you had when you first started the original. But beyond the difficulty in combat, Dark Souls is mostly praised for its atmosphere. The world is filled with various areas such as dungeons, eerie undergrounds, catacombs, areas filled with traps. It's a game where the world feels alive and dying at the same time. Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is an absolute masterpiece, and that's coming from someone who spent countless hours roaming its vast world. It's one of those games where you can easily lose yourself, not just because of the size of the map, but because everything about it is so immersive. The story is filled with morally complex decisions that actually make you stop and think about the consequences. And it's not just about Geralt, every character feels well-rounded, and their stories are worth diving into. Now, the combat might take a bit to get used to, but once you do, it's super satisfying, especially when you start mixing swordplay with signs and potions. But honestly, the real magic of the game lies in its world. Witcher 3 has a variety of areas, each with their own distinct features. You will wander through the forest, climb up the mountains, and even explore ruins and castles. Each area feels alive, with random encounters and side quests that often turn out to be as engaging as the main story. Also, the DLCs are a major hit. I love the World in Blood and Wine DLC. Everything felt so colorful. It's almost as if I just randomly stepped into a colorful world full of fairy tales. Each area was booming with colors. You also get to meet some new characters with their own stories. Overall, I highly recommend playing this game. Prototype. Prototype is one of my favorite games. This is one of the underrated games that caught my attention because of the powers and complete freedom. Pretty much like GTA, you can mess around with the NPCs, but instead you have got these cool, awesome looking powers because of a science experiment that went wrong. As a player, you have complete freedom over what you can do in the game. My favorite thing was to just roam around the map, jump from buildings, or just glide through the city. What really stands out is how our main character Alex quickly changes into something more than just a victim. This is a bit of spoiler, but if you played the original, then try the sequel. One thing you guys should know is that despite being an underrated game, Prototype really stands out because of the crazy powers and a good enough storyline. It's not that it has a really deep story, it's just that unlike other games, Prototype's story is quite engaging. Prototype is one of those games that just lets you unleash chaos in the most satisfying way possible. You can shapeshift, consume enemies to gain their abilities, and basically turn the whole city into your playground. You're not just running around, you're running up skyscrapers, gliding across the skyline, and smashing through anything in your way. It's Infamous or GTA, but with more bizarre powers. Also, if you find the game interesting, then you're in for a treat because the sequel double downs on everything that made the original so great, though in my opinion, the original Prototype is the best one. Cyberpunk 2077. I guess it's a bit cliche, but Cyberpunk is definitely a game worthy of noticing. Almost every feature and mechanics looks seamless, and the visuals are beautiful with the sci-fi buildings and neon lights. But it's not all perfect. The game had a rough launch with bugs and performance issues, especially on older consoles. Some of those bugs were funny, but others were just frustrating. Since then, they've patched a lot, and it's way more stable now, but that first impression stuck with a lot of people. There's no better time now than to experience such a futuristic looking game and feel the thrill of cruising through the night city. The open world is filled with endless possibilities. You can do a lot more besides the main story. The game offers you 3 different playstyles. You can choose how you want to play the game. There are a lot of cool weapons, amazing vehicles, and a lot of customizations. From the start of the game, Cyberpunk offers you an immense number of customizations with which you can create your desired character. I remember being blown away because of how many options there were. Low-key, I was actually confused as I had no idea about what to do. Everything felt so appealing. Overall, the game is a must-play for every RPG open world fan. Red Dead Redemption 2. You must have seen this one coming. Red Dead 2 is a game that always gets mentioned no matter what topic we are on. Also, one extra reason I'm mentioning this game is because I know for sure that some of you guys will comment under the video that I forgot about the greatest Red Dead. That's why here you go. Red Dead is one of those games that will keep you hooked from start to finish. The first chapter probably isn't everybody's jam, but from the second chapter the game keeps on getting better.
Just get out of here, damn it! I told you, get lost.
Each moment feels connected. You are not just playing the game, you're actually living in the open world. Almost every NPC is doing something. One moment you see a person working on one part of the railway tracks, and the next thing you know he's finished, and now chopping wood. Literally, the game is a masterpiece. Anyone can easily get lost in the wild open world filled with side quests. These simple quests add depth to the overall story and give us a chance to get to know about the open world or other characters. In my opinion, the storyline is what made the game so popular besides the open world. Red Dead's story is a feast for the eyes. You see the gang staying together through thick and thin before finally moving on. You also get to see all the major moments of Arthur's life, his family, his love, his trust with the gang, all his struggles, and finally the end. The ending will surely bring tears to your eyes.
I'm gonna bury you!
Our next game is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Everyone knows about Zelda, and it'd be a crime not to mention this game in the perfect list. Sure, Tears of Kingdom have got some good stuff, but Breath of the Wild is the most iconic title. Probably some of you guys have specifically purchased Nintendo just to play this game. The open world feels massive and is quite beautiful, though it's nothing like usual games such as Witcher or Skyrim. The world is more similar to stunning anime games such as Genshin Impact. However, the game itself is a masterpiece, whether it be the storyline, visuals, gameplay. You can easily spend over 100 hours on this game. Even in 2024, Zelda can give a tough competition to other open world games. Skyrim. What can I say? Probably the godfather of RPG games. Skyrim has been one of my most favorite iconic games. It's surely not on the same level as other huge open world RPGs with updated textures or colorful worlds, but there's something special about Skyrim that only the players who have spent countless hours into it can understand. It's a massive open world RPG that offers almost endless freedom, whether you want to explore, fight, craft, or just live another life entirely. The world feels alive, with NPCs going about their daily routines, random events happening as you wander around, and various landscapes. You can be whoever you want: a stealthy assassin, a powerful mage, a sword-swinging warrior, or a mix of everything. Combat is pretty fun, though it can feel a bit clunky at times, especially if you're used to more action-oriented games. But the sheer variety of enemies, dungeons, and the customization of skills and gear keeps it interesting. And then there's the dragons. Every time you hear that roar in the distance, you know something epic is about to go down. Now, the game isn't without its flaws. Bugs are common, especially in the early versions, but they're also part of its charm at this point. You never know if a guard is going to float away or a giant is going to send you flying into the stratosphere. Mods are a huge part of the experience too, making the game feel new even after hundreds of hours. I always recommend for the newcomers to play the game with the mods, especially the graphical or textural mods, because they will make the visuals so much better. And trust me, not everyone is interested in playing Skyrim and vanilla in 2024. Death Stranding. Death Stranding is one of the most unique gaming experiences I've had. It's not your typical action game, it's more about the journey and how you connect with the world around you. You play as a guy who's basically a delivery man in a post-apocalyptic world where society is shattered and there's this mysterious vibe everywhere. The gameplay is surprisingly addicting, even though most of it is walking from place to place, managing your cargo and figuring out how to navigate the crazy landscapes without falling or getting caught by these creepy ghost-like creatures. You get this real sense of isolation and survival, but at the same time you're always leaving behind signs and tools to help other players who might cross the same paths later. In my opinion, the story is classic Kojima, super deep, kinda weird, and full of mind-bending twists. The cutscenes are epic, and the performances from the cast really stand out, though Death Stranding is not for everyone. The pacing is slow, but if you're into something atmospheric, emotional, and can adjust yourself with the game's features, then please do give it a shot before the sequel comes out. Death Stranding is what you can call something much more awesome than the first impression. It's a new type of experience. Plus, it's a Kojima game, and those who know about it have a nice idea of what I'm talking about. There will definitely be something that will blow your mind. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Okay, now I know probably this is not everyone's first choice when it comes to choosing best 100 hours Assassin's Creed game. However, I feel that Valhalla is a bit too much. That's why Odyssey is your prime decision if you want to spend a great deal of time in an Assassin's Creed world. The game pretty much lets you live out your ancient Greek warrior fantasy. The first thing that hits you is just how stunning everything looks. The world is huge, filled with sparkling blue waters, and those iconic Greek landmarks. It's a bit overwhelming at first because the map is so big, but it's also exciting knowing you have the freedom to explore all of it. The game doesn't shy away from choice either, which is pretty cool because every decision can affect your story in small or big ways. You feel like you have control over what happens, even though it's still very much an Assassin's Creed game at heart. The biggest downside for the OG players, besides the scale of the game, is the combat. This time it's more about raw combat or becoming a Spartan warrior than sneaking through the shadows to show your stealth skills. So to be honest, I always preferred the linear style AC games, but hey, if you have never played this RPG shift, then do give it a try. You will feel like you're playing a brand new game with some touches of Assassin's Creed. Elden Ring. It's no doubt that this game is absolutely over 100 hours. Also, it will take a lot more time if this is the first time you're playing a From Software game. Trust me, Elden Ring is the finest Souls game experiences, and it's completely newbie friendly. You can always dive into this game and make it as an entry point into the Souls games. Sure, you will struggle a lot to grasp the basic concepts such as dodging, parrying, rolling, but that's the actual beauty of playing a Souls game. These games are not your simple GTA style. You really have to grind, look for resources, find stronger weapons or builds, or just get better, learn all sorts of attack patterns. As someone who's played Elden Ring, I can say it's a wild experience that feels like you're stepping into a massive, mysterious world full of danger and discovery. If you're a fan of From Software's games, especially Dark Souls or Bloodborne, you'll feel right at home here, but the open world twist adds a fresh layer of excitement. Every enemy encounter feels like it could be your last if you're not careful. But once you get the timing down, the satisfaction of parrying or dodging just right is unmatched. Each boss is a unique challenge that requires patience, skill, and a bit of trial and error. You'll get wrecked, but when you finally beat them, it's one of the best feelings. Final Fantasy 15. This is one of those games that really sticks with you, especially if you enjoy open world exploration and a solid blend of action and story. The concept of road trip and a stunning looking car is something developers blessed us with. Throughout the game, you and your teammates share an inseparable bond. The brotherhood between them is the core of the experience. I love the idea of progressing through the story by learning and sharing experiences on a road trip. You start off as a simple prince, but towards the end, Noctis really becomes worthy of a king. The 15th part will always be my special because it was my entry into the series. Honestly, the only reason I played this game was because of the popularity of the Final Fantasy and Noctis. I loved how awesome Noctis looks with his outfit and the anime hairstyle. Now, besides the obvious stuff, I want to say that if you're looking to enter into the series, then 15th or 7th Remake are two best options. Each game will take a lot of your time, but will surely reward you with something amazing. You will see several beautiful visuals which will definitely make you go crazy, as the weather changing feature is also there. The game feels too real, which works in our favor because it keeps us engaged. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is one of those games that hooks you with its sheer scale and freedom. When I first jumped in, I was honestly overwhelmed by the infinite possibilities. The idea of exploring an entire galaxy, hopping between planets, each with its own unique ecosystem and alien life, felt massive. At first, it's just you, your ship, and the vast unknown, which is both peaceful and terrifying. What I really love is how the game constantly makes you feel small in the grand scope of things, but it also empowers you with the tools to survive, explore, and build. You start out gathering resources, upgrading your ship, and crafting gear, but soon you're building bases, establishing trade routes, or even going full space pirate. The game's updates have added so much, from multiplayer and VR to customizable bases and better storytelling, so it feels like a constantly evolving experience. The visuals are stunning, especially when you land on a new planet and take in the strange landscapes and skies. That said, it can feel grindy at times, especially when you're just trying to get the resources you need to get to the next big thing. But if you love exploration, the thrill of discovery, and just the idea of venturing into the unknown, No Man's Sky can be one of those games you lose yourself in for hours. It's like a chill space adventure that can quickly turn into an intense survival experience depending on where you land. Dragon Age Inquisition. A game where you're basically thrown into a mix with tons of powers with no idea of what to do. Trust me, when I first stepped into the game, I was completely fed up with everything and had no idea about what to do. There were a lot of dialogues, characters, and definitely a lot of powers. Don't even get me started on the sheer number of confusing spells. However, believe me, Inquisition is one of the finest RPGs. In fact, it got the Game of the Year award, which in my opinion, the game definitely deserves. It's only the initial hours. When you finally figure out what to do, that's when the game showed its true colors. You have got party members who are more than just simple NPCs. They do a lot more than just helping out in the battle. You can form relations with them. They also guide you on your journey and even make hilarious comments. The party definitely feels like a home, and each character acts as a family member. For me, Inquisition is something that was way ahead of its time. The choices you make throughout the game shape the world around you, affecting alliances, friendships, and even the outcome of the story. The game brilliantly tackles themes of power, morality, and the struggle between different factions, forcing you to consider the consequences of your decisions. Playing Dragon Age Inquisition feels like stepping into a grand fantasy saga where your actions matter and the world evolves around you.
It grows larger with each passing hour.
Before we continue the video, big thanks to Instant Gaming for sponsoring today's video. If you haven't checked them out yet, they're the place to score some amazing discounts on games. Whether you're a PC player or into PlayStation, they've got you covered with all the hottest titles. Plus, their games come directly from official resellers, so no shady stuff here. They've also got a great pre-order section if you want to lock in the next big release at a discount. Definitely check them out if you're looking for unbeatable prices on all your favorite games. Days Gone. Please don't let the low review scores dissuade you. Days Gone is absolutely worth playing. While the opening act might not grab you right away, once you've upgraded your bike and character stats a few times, the game becomes much more fun and rewarding. The story starts off intentionally bleak, but I wouldn't say it's overly depressing. Without spoiling anything, your character acts the way he does for a reason, and that allows for growth and change by the end of the story. It's not a huge dramatic shift, but it's enough to feel satisfying. In terms of gameplay, Days Gone is one of those games where you get out what you put in. Yes, the mission structure is pretty basic. You can approach every enemy encampment like a standard cover shooter, or deal with hordes the same way each time. But if you start making creative use of the many gadgets and weapons at your disposal, along with environmental traps both natural and man-made, you can funnel, flank, and trap your enemies in all kinds of interesting ways. The game gives you a bunch of tools, and it's up to you to combine them creatively to accomplish your objectives. There's a lot of variety to explore, but it really depends on whether you choose to think outside the box. The graphics and world design are outstanding, making the game's setting feel incredibly immersive. I really hope they reconsider making a sequel because Days Gone is such an amazing experience.
Do that. We'll see what we can do for you.
Dig, bro. And I know what kind of man he is.
Just Cause 3. Just Cause 3 is an incredible game. It's like GTA set on a stunning Mediterranean island with unbelievable movement mechanics and loads of destruction. The gameplay is pure fun, and there's a ton of content to dive into. For a game released in 2015, the visuals are still really impressive, and the map is both diverse and colorful, featuring everything from mountains and seas to beautiful fields, forests, and cities of various sizes. The movement mechanics are what really set Just Cause 3 apart. Whether you're using your grapple hook, grenades, cars, or the awesome weaponized Bavarian wingsuit from the DLC, the destruction is wild. You can tear down trees, creatures, cars, and chaos objects related to the Dictator, and it never gets old. The game also offers enjoyable challenges, which are essentially mini-games within Just Cause 3. Collecting all the videotapes unlocks an overpowered helicopter, perfect for clearing bases. Car races unlock new vehicles and boosts. Wingsuit challenges upgrade your movement abilities, and grappling challenges make your gadgets so powerful that you can take down entire outposts without even firing a gun. Now, the story isn't really the reason people play Just Cause 3. The plot is a bit weak, and even the developers admitted that it's more of a sandbox game. The story just serves to give players ideas on what they can do. The Just Cause series has always been about wild, creative gameplay, with features like the grappling hook, parachute, and the wingsuit introduced in this game offering a new level of freedom and chaos. One of the best aspects of Just Cause 3 is the map. It's huge in size and designed perfectly for messing around, whether you're riding down a mountain in a boat or doing something equally crazy and fun. The map's blend of oceans and mountains makes it an ideal playground for experimentation and chaos. God of War Ragnarok. The expectations for God of War Ragnarok were sky high, almost impossible to reach, especially since God of War 2018 is considered one of the greatest games of all time. Sequels often fall short, but Ragnarok took the series to new heights and exceeded those expectations. The story, graphics, gameplay mechanics, dialogue, character development, music, and plot twists all combine to make this the best God of War game to date. Even the small touches, like the developer's sense of humor shining through in clever dialogues between characters, add to the experience in ways we didn't even know we needed. I 100% recommend this game to every gamer. Even if you just watch the story parts without playing, you'll still find it captivating. It's like watching a movie. The side quests don't feel like side content either. They enhance the characters and their backstories in such a brilliant way that you actually enjoy completing them. I also love how they gave other characters the spotlight they deserved, making the world feel richer and more alive. To truly appreciate God of War Ragnarok, you need to experience both God of War 2018 and Ragnarok for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This game brings everything full circle, creating a familiar yet refreshing journey for fans of the series. Yakuza like a dragon, infinite wealth? I can say with full confidence that this is a quality Yakuza entry and one of the better ones overall. RGG has refined the combat and gameplay from the previous entry on so many levels, addressing nearly every one of my complaints. I personally enjoyed my time with this game immensely. It's hard to believe I could enjoy Yakuza in turn-based form, but it has genuinely surprised me in the best way. The new setting of Hawaii is visually stunning, and it's a fresh location to explore. However, I wasn't the biggest fan of hearing NPCs speak English while exploring the island. It felt a bit uncanny. It was odd to play this franchise in a foreign land where the main protagonist and his party almost never speak the local language. Additionally, the way some Japanese-speaking characters use entirely different voice actors for their occasional English lines threw me off.
This hoodlum wanted money, and she pointed a gun light at me.
The class system adds a lot of variety and allows for impressive builds, letting you customize your team to suit your playstyle, and I had a lot of fun experimenting with it. The story was solid overall, but the game heavily relies on callbacks and references to previous Yakuza games, so it's not recommended as your first entry into the franchise. There's even a whole mechanic dedicated to memories of previous games, which is great for longtime fans and full of fan service that I welcome. For a turn-based game, RGG managed to create an enjoyable experience. They took another shot at it after like a dragon and fixed many of its shortcomings and design flaws. I absolutely love this game for that. Black Myth Wukong. This is one of those games that just blew me away from the start. The moment you jump in, the visuals hit you hard. It's like every frame could be a wallpaper. Every gamer knows about this game, and the popularity of it is crazy. The game broke all records. You know what? I was one of those players who was really excited for this game and was patiently waiting for it. I got it on the release day, and honestly, it didn't disappoint. I completed the entire game in 2 days. Loved every second of it. The boss battles were crazy. There's no time to rest. Almost in every 20 minutes, there's going to be a main or mini boss. Maybe for some players this could be a turn off, but for players like us who knew that it's more of a boss rush game, nothing could feel better than this. Thank you so much to the developers for making such an impressive game. Now, about the storyline, this is also my favorite aspect. I'm a huge fan of Journey to the West. Therefore, I love the idea of playing as the Monkey King. It's almost a dream come true. Black Myth can be an amazing experience if you are there for the combat, the boss battles, impressive visuals, and the Chinese mythology. I really want you guys to try out this game if you're into this genre. Dead Island 2. Before you enter this game, ask yourself a question: do you love to smash zombies in creative ways? If yes, then by all means get your hands on Dead Island 2. Here, you're dropped into this beautifully messed up version of LA, which is now overrun by the undead, and your main goal is to survive and absolutely wreck zombies in the most creative, over-the-top ways possible. The gameplay isn't trying to be super deep, but that's kind of what makes it so enjoyable. It's all about kicking back and getting lost in the insanity. You can use everything from makeshift weapons like a bat with nails sticking out of it to full-blown fire axes. Every swing, every slice, you literally see the damage you're dealing in real time, and it's oddly satisfying. Plus, you get to mod weapons, which adds a whole layer of customizations. There's also a co-op mode that really amps up the fun if you've got friends to play with. Running around as a squad and taking on hordes of zombies while laughing at the chaos is definitely a highlight. And while the story isn't something that'll stick with you forever, it's enough to keep you moving forward with some quirky characters and a decent plot to justify the mayhem. The game does a great job of making you feel like you're in the messed up version of LA with its luxury mansions, beaches, and abandoned film sets. Overall, it's not a game that's going to blow your mind with its depth or narrative, but if you're after pure zombie slaying chaos with some gorgeous environments and a ridiculous amount of gore, Dead Island 2 delivers exactly that. Before I reveal my final pick, here are some honorable mentions. Nier Automata. Even before I got the chance to play this game, I knew that it's going to be amazing. Nier is a series that is really close to my heart. The game takes you on this journey among androids and machines across a destroyed open world. When you first enter the game, you will be provided with a familiar nostalgic playstyle. Then the game will introduce you to a third-person perspective, and you will soon discover the side-scrolling playstyle. So there you have it. Nier Automata is a game that gives its players a chance to experience the game in various playstyles. Such amazing stuff keeps the game fresh and engaging. Now, I'm sure the sci-fi and open world fans will love the game. It's got a beautiful main character, kind of anime style hack and slash combat, some pretty good visuals in a post-apocalyptic world, and don't even get me started on the dialogues and voice acting. However, what really stands out is the storyline. It's sad, it's touching, it's full of emotion, something you can never expect from a post-apocalyptic environment. You share a journey with your partner and experience so many different things. To be honest, I'm sure that if the game was not so much anime style or set in a colorful world, it would surely have gotten more popularity. Though that's not the issue, as the current state of the game made it so captivating. Nier Automata is a great game and it doesn't need any changes. It probably won't be for everyone, but those who finish it will find it amazing.
We're soldiers.
Greedfall. Greedfall is one of those games that flew under the radar for a lot of people, but honestly it's an RPG that deserves way more love. Developed by Spiders, it's got that classic BioWare vibe with a deep focus on choice, diplomacy, and exploration. You're dropped into a 17th century inspired fantasy world, where colonialism, politics, and magic collide, and from the moment you start, it's clear there's more here than just your typical sword-swinging adventure. You play as D. Sardate, a diplomat sent to the mysterious island of Tirfredi. The island is teeming with mysteries, strange creatures, and warring factions, each with their own agendas. What I love about Greedfall is how it blends historical themes with fantasy elements. You've got muskets and sabers alongside magical powers and giant, mystical creatures. It's not just another open-world RPG, it's this weird, cool mix of old-world charm and supernatural intrigue, and it works. Where Greedfall shines is in its focus on player choice. You're not just hacking your way through enemies though, there's plenty of combat if that's your thing. A lot of the game revolves around how you approach situations. Do you negotiate peace between factions, or do you side with one and wipe out the other? Your decisions have a real impact on the world and how the story plays out, and it's not just about being good or evil, it's about navigating the gray areas in between, where no choice is easy.
After this little swim, you can always try to pull the trigger.
The combat system is solid too. It's not the deepest out there, but it's got enough variety to keep things interesting. You can mix and match different styles, melee, ranged, and magic, so you can switch up your approach based on the situation. And with the companions you pick up along the way, you can fine-tune your team to handle anything the game throws at you. Each companion has their own story, and their relationships with you can shift depending on your choices, which adds another layer of depth. If you're a fan of RPGs that give you meaningful choices, complex relationships, and a world full of mystery to dive into, Greedfall is one you need to check out. It's not the biggest or the flashiest, but it's got a soul, and that's what makes it stand out.